I saw a fridge magnet in a shop one time that said, "This house was clean yesterday. Sorry you missed it." If this resonates with you, yes, I'm especially talking to moms of pets and small humans. You will appreciate today's guest, Jamie Reeder, who is the president of Dust and Mop House Cleaning. She knows this is a pain point that her customers experience and has built a team of passionate, engaged employees who don't just show up to clean. They clean with a purpose, to create a home environment that promotes physical and mental well-being. Who knew an inspired employee with a dustpan and a mop could have such a therapeutic effect on someone's home? This is E3. Engage and empower with empathy. Welcome to the podcast today, Jamie. It's really nice to have you here. I've been especially looking forward to this particular episode because I am a user of your service. So I have direct experience with your employees, engaging with your employees. And I reached out to you and your team initially because I was incredibly inspired by the way what could be a very grueling and difficult job of cleaning houses. I was inspired by the way your employees showed up and they show up with their cleaning supplies and there's always a smile on their faces and it's almost like they're cleaning with a purpose. They are coming into your house and they know that they're going to make your life better, and that's why they're doing it. They're not just going through the motions. And I'll tell you just from my personal experience, when I lost my job earlier this year, and my husband and I had to comb through our finances and cancel subscriptions and services. When I got to that line item of dust and mop, my heart kind of jumped out of my chest because I knew that we needed to put it on pause for a few months until we got our finances in order. But I knew that we would feel a gaping hole in our lives, and not just based on the amount of dirt that's collecting in our household. I have a cat and two small children, so they collect dirt like crazy. Jessica, our cleaner, felt like family to us. I was so used to seeing her every month, and she would come in, and even when we would engage in conversation, but even when we weren't talking, she was just this positive presence in our household for a few hours. And then I would always tell her as she was leaving, "Thank you for making our house smell so good," because everything would just smell like lemons and just lovely. I just wonder what your secret sauce is, because I just know that when a company delivers exceptional customer service, which Dust and Mop does, it's because the employees are likely treated like VIPs. So, what do you do to keep employees engaged in a job like this, especially given I'm sure there are high turnover rates in your industry as well? Keeping people with your company and engaged and enthusiastic. What's your secret?
Well, thank you so much for having me here. It's great to be on your podcast. And also, thank you for being a customer of Dust and Mop and sharing your story. That means a lot to me. It warms my heart to just see how we impact customers on a daily or weekly basis and coming into their homes. So thanks for that. So the first thing is the number one secret sauce is having an amazing team. So that's number one. We firmly believe that taking care of our employees directly impacts how they show up every day for work. And that's me included, how I show up for my employees, and it trickles all the way down. I had this vision that I wanted to create an environment where our cleaning pros feel appreciated and they feel valued. We never want a cleaning pro to feel like, well, they just clean houses, right? Because that's not what they do. And your testimonial is a sentiment to that. So things that we do at Dust and Mop specifically, and I will say that we've really put this into high gear, I would say, the last 5 years. We've been in business for 15 years, and there's an evolution of being an entrepreneur too, of doing things wrong and figuring things out along the way, and then doing things right and listening and learning and growing as a leader as well. So it's important for us to have recognition and appreciation for all of our employees, because we do still have an office staff that supports our cleaning pros in the field as well. We do regular recognition as part of our culture. It's big wins and small wins. It could be a review on Google, their birthday, their anniversary, and just going above and beyond, helping out a teammate. So we really try to drive home that spirit of helping others and not just our customers, but our teammates as well, and treating everyone with a level of respect. Clear communication is also another secret sauce at Dust and Mop. And that starts from the time that we interview, setting expectations for what the job looks like, what it's going to look like when they onboard with the company, when they go out in the field and do training. And Jessica is a trainer and brings trainees into the home, so you could see that firsthand. And making them feel like they are a part of the team, but also communicating clearly and having an expectation. And that's where a gap happens, when you have someone come on board and they have an idea in their head of what things should be, and you haven't clearly communicated, and there's a gap there. And that's when things start to fall off. So again, some of those things have been learned through trial and error as well. So we have a really great training program and set that expectation up front of what they can expect, but also what we expect from them as an employee too. So we do hold them accountable for being, going through training and being dedicated, and understanding that, yes, we all have challenges sometimes, but when you walk in that customer's door, you have to come with a smile. And we know that's hard some days, and we recognize that. And so we try to talk about that in our meetings. And we always work on our professional growth as well for our employees. So we want them to see that there's other paths. So instead of having a career ladder, this is a big focus for us in 2025, is to map out some more career paths for our cleaning pros. We have opportunities to come into the office to work sometimes. We actually have a cleaning pro that came into the office, and she does all of our employee interviewing and onboarding. And her name is Stephanie, and she does all of that, and she runs our weekly meetings with our team. And we do have every branch. We have 3 branches. We have Raleigh, Greensboro, and Charlotte. And each branch, every week, the cleaning pros have a meeting once a week in person. Because our business is so much different than being in a professional environment, white collar, where you're all working together in an office. Our employees, most of them are all out in the field, and we want to physically see them and interact with them. So we do different themes for meetings. Sometimes it's just a fun meeting. Sometimes the office cooks breakfast for the cleaning pros. So, or we'll cater in. And so those are just, I could go on and on and on, but we've really cultivated our focus and our culture to really be about our employees and to making them feel good, and that they have a sense of purpose in their job, and to feel valued by not just us, but also by our customers. It's important for us to have customers too that value them as a house cleaner as well.
Yeah. I love that sense of purpose that you're instilling in your cleaners, because house cleaning could just seem like a going through the motions kind of job that could become mundane very quickly. If I were to ask, maybe I will next time Jessica's in our house, what is your purpose, without thinking too hard? What do you think most of your cleaning pros would say when they answer that question?
I think that most of them, their purpose, they know, is to just be a sense of some kind of relief for our customers, and whatever that may be. It could be that they are someone to come in to physically do the work because the customer cannot physically do the work, right? And that makes a huge difference in the customer mentally, how they feel being in their home, right? It could, we always say to our cleaning pros, don't ever assume why you're in someone's home cleaning, because sometimes there's reasons that we're there that they just don't ever know. And for them, I think that, they are feeling like they have an impact on that. They could be that one shining moment for that customer in, a 2-week period or a monthly period where maybe they're going through something, and they realize how a clean home can kind of set the stage for a customer, even if they're having a rough time in their life, or even if it's not, or it's just they had a busy day at work, or maybe their day went great and then they came home and it got even better because it smelled like lemons, right? So, so I think I would be interested. I think having those conversations with the cleaning pros, they love connecting with the customer. And they love it when the customer says things to them like, "Thank you so much for making my house smell so good. And thank you for showing up." And it makes them feel good. We all want to feel appreciated. And I think that's what the impact is for them. They know that they're helping the customer have a shining moment in their day, in their week, in their month.
Yeah. Well, that's special. It's impactful, and that's not something that's insignificant.
Right.
So tell me a little bit more about your industry. We were talking a little bit offline about the evolution of the house cleaning industry. How do you think this evolution has impacted the way you engage with your employees, if at all?
Sure. So, we were talking offline a little bit about how house cleaning traditionally in the past was very defragmented, and it was kind of franchises and cleaning ladies. And it's really evolved in the last 20 years to have more independent, non-franchise business owners like myself that are focused on the operations and the business and the culture, and really changing the way that people view house cleaning as a whole. And it certainly has had an impact, and a positive one at that. It has, interact with a lot of my peers across the United States. I'm very involved in the house cleaning community, from an owner standpoint, and we collaborate. Hey, what are you doing for your culture? What should I be doing? Hey, can you take a look at this? Does this sound, and it could be something very simple like, what's your PTO policy? What are you doing for benefits? How can we give our employees more benefits? How can we do more for our employees? And what's your pay structure? So all of those things have really positively impacted the culture for not just our cleaning pros, but all of our employees, especially those in the office as well. And just how we run our day-to-day business.
It sounds like, and I don't know if that collaboration has always existed across different house cleaning services. And you mentioned that you really share best practices with other owners like yourself. Did that always happen, or is that kind of a new trend?
I would say no, it didn't always happen. No, not when I started my business. There's been certainly over the last, especially with social media, right? And having groups come together. So that's helped us collaborate in a easier fashion than having to like physically go meet somewhere and sit in a conference room, in a hotel. And so it hasn't always been that way, but certainly I would say the last 5 years or so. And I feel like COVID kind of made everything speed up because we were forced to do a lot of different things. And what employees expect from us has changed in the last 15 years too, quite significantly. It's not just, hey, come to work, get your paycheck and go home, right? They have to have that sense of purpose and value and feel empowered. And so all of those things has really made our industry better, and has really just pushed us to say, hey, we don't want just house cleaners. And I don't mean to say that in a bad way. Like, we don't want just house cleaners. We want cleaning pros that care about the customers, care about their jobs, and want to be impactful for the customers. So all of those things in our industry has really helped make everything better for our employees as a whole.
I love that you mentioned that. And your point about how employee expectations have changed over the last 10 to
Mhm.
15 years. Let's talk about that a little bit because
Sure.
I literally just in my email inbox today got an email from Gallup talking about how only 50% of US employees are
Mhm.
thriving in their overall lives, which is a new record low. So, I
Mm.
mean, you were talking about the pandemic accelerating things.
Yeah.
Um, I think it accelerated a lot of things, a lot of adoption of new technologies, artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
But we all went through a really unprecedented time together as a society.
Mm.
And I think the impact on our mental health, we didn't quite realize how much it impacted us
Mm.
during that time. And we'll go back to what your company did during the pandemic because I think that's probably a great way to wrap up this episode. But before we get to that, tell me a little bit about how that evolution in employee expectations has changed over the years, and
Mm.
especially with regards to well-being and mental health, because I do think that's a really hot topic in all workplace environments right now. Employees are struggling, well-being is at an all-time low.
Mhm.
In the standard white collar community where I come from in the corporate environment, everyone's asking just come back into the office now, and that's going to solve employee engagement.
Right.
Everybody's going to be engaged because you're back sitting in your cubicle, but there's so much more to it than that,
Sure.
just the face-to-face contact. What's your experience in your industry with that well-being aspect?
It's really interesting because I do feel like, there was a bit of, 15 years ago when I started Dust to Mop, it was kind of like, okay, come and you clean houses and and you go home, you get your paycheck. And, COVID did a lot to us, right? It made us stop. It made all of us stop and think about our time, where we're spending our time, our loved ones, things we care about. Um, Things that are required of us. And I think we're all a lot more aware of how and where we want to spend our time. Um, so I love that our employees are more aware of themselves, right? But then we as a company have to be aware of what their needs are and what they're expressing to us. So for us, it's important to have, and we've always had this, but it's important for our employees to have a good work-life balance. For us, that means we don't work nights and weekends. It was always important for me to make sure that we do have a lot of single moms and that they could be with their kids, and if that meant getting their kids on the bus in the morning or getting home in time, because most of them don't work till 5 o'clock, um, getting home before the kids do from school so they can be there with them, whatever age they are. So they have to recharge. So we also are always looking at what can we do to support them? How can we help them be heard? Which is one of the reasons why we have the weekly meetings. They have a form that they can fill out if they have a suggestion about something or they have a need. Hey, could we start doing this? Could we start doing that? Or something that they may need. And it could be something simple. They might have a suggestion for a new cleaning tool, but it's an avenue for them to be heard and to feel empowered and feel like they're part of the team. So I think that mentally, helps them feel engaged. But you're right, it's a very physically, and it is not just a physically demanding job, it's an emotionally demanding job too, because they're independent people. We do primarily solo cleaning. And when they go into a customer's home and they have a complaint, they take it very personal. And it doesn't matter what the complaint is, but they take it personal, which they should because it's their work. But that can also be mentally exhausting for them, right? And so sometimes as a company, we filter that feedback from customers. We don't tell them every single thing. We have to be there to be an advocate for the customer, but we also have to protect our employees, right? And so if we know we have an employee that has an amazing track record, that does really great, but he or she has had a really bad couple weeks, you know, we're not going to bombard her with all of this negative feedback. Now, we may give her some if it's really crucial, but the conversation has changed. It's not, hey, you got this complaint, this complaint, this complaint, this complaint, which is what it would have been probably 10 years ago, right?
Hmm.
It's more of, hey, is there something going on? You don't typically have this challenge. So it's giving them the space to communicate with us, to know that we care, and for us to try to help them. How can we support you in getting back on track? Because we do have customers that they pay very good money for our service, and we want to make sure that we're supporting you, but we also have to make sure we're taking care of the customer at the same time. So how can we do that? We have PTO for them. We also have, which a lot of house cleaning companies don't have. We have medical, we have dental, vision. They have free telehealth. They can do mental health appointments, telehealth if they need to. So there's a lot of support that we give them from a benefits standpoint. They get paid time off after they're here for a certain amount of time. They can also receive additional time off. We usually have contests around like reviews and things like that. So then they can accrue additional extra days off. So they love that as well. And really having team connections. We do fun team, we might do a potluck or something along those lines. We do an award breakfast every year in December. And we give away awards to the team, and they vote on that amongst themselves, which is really fun. So they get to vote for each other. So we think the bottom line is we want them to feel heard and know that we care.
That's a big deal. I think we tend to underestimate as business leaders how important it is to know our people personally.
Yeah.
And I loved your example that you gave of a customer complaint when you have a cleaner who has an excellent track record normally. Now, if you knew them well personally and knew that they were, I don't know, grieving a loss of a family member, or maybe still in postpartum phase and recovering from a really tough pregnancy and childbirth scenario. I mean, you just never know what their personal situation is, and something there may just have been a little hiccup in their cleaning that day because they were suffering mentally from a personal life issue. But because you knew and you're seeing and hearing these people as individuals and you understand their life circumstances, you can then buffer the client feedback accordingly, and give them the feedback that they really need to hear, and address that personal situation. And I think that's so incredibly important, and I really admire your approach to that. And you know what else I admire is what you were able to do to turn a challenging situation during the pandemic into something extremely positive. So I know the pandemic all seems like it was years ago already. But I just want to acknowledge, since this episode is titled Cleaning with a Purpose, I think this is such a good example of how so many different businesses were really suffering initially in the pandemic, trying to understand how do we sustain our business model when we can't go into people's homes, or we can't, what do we do? I thought your approach was extremely creative and also very inspiring. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It does seem like it was forever ago, but then it seems like it was yesterday all at the same time, right? It's like, it's one of those things. The pandemic was very challenging for Dustin Ma, especially because we were in people's homes, right? And but so challenging for so many other small businesses that just had other challenges than what we had. The good news is that cleaning was deemed essential in North Carolina, which was different from some of my peers in other states where they had to completely shut down and they were not allowed to operate. But it was still challenging nonetheless, because we did have a huge percentage of our customers that said, I just want to stop services right now. So we went from here and we're running at like 50% and we have a full staff. I did a lot of research in the beginning. I actually had told a lot of my peers about the PPP money and was educating them on it. So I had jumped on that right away and said, okay, well, if this is going to be a disaster, like let's see what we can do. But thankfully it wasn't as bad for house cleaning because at first we didn't know if we were going to be essential or not. So they did deem cleaning essential. So what my approach was to be as open and transparent as I could with both of our customers and our employees, because everybody was scared. We were all scared. Our employees were scared, not only of the pandemic itself, but if they were going to have a job. And a lot of our customers were scared of the same thing, right? Like what's going to happen, right? But I think ours more so because they're labored employees, right? They're not white collar on salary. And, I kept my team informed. I did a lot of small, short videos for our customers and sent those out about what we were doing. I also did the same thing internally for our team and updated them. Hey, this is what's going on. This is what we're doing. I even told we applied for PPP, which was the payroll protection, and telling them all of those things. So we had to shift our thinking too, which was, are we just a house cleaning service? What's the difference between sanitizing and disinfecting? Like I had to learn all of those things. And what was important for our customers, we had to pivot. Well, what tools are we using? How do we use our vacuums? Do we use vacuums? Do we have to wipe them down every time? Should we tell our customers we have to use their vacuums only because now our vacuums in other houses? There were so many things to think about from an operations standpoint. And it was so crazy, and it was all very condensed in such a short amount of time. But, I'm proud to say that all of our employees showed just incredible resilience and dedication. And they all stepped up in so many ways that I couldn't have imagined, just showing compassion for our customers and for one another. And we all just came together and we were stronger and had just a renewed sense of purpose. And we were able to keep all of our employees on. They didn't work full schedules, but with the PPP support, we were able to keep all of them whole, which was amazing. And so I'm very thankful that we had that resource to do that.
That's wonderful. I love how you kind of turned a challenge into an opportunity and really just started doing research. And rather than panicking, you really looked at ways to really protect your employees, take care of your customers, and do the right thing. I had also seen a video somewhere about a partnership that you had. I can't remember the organization name, with cancer patients who needed help with cleaning. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, I would love to. So we are a partner of Cleaning for a Reason, which provides free house cleaning services for anyone who is going through cancer treatment. And we have been doing that for almost 15 years because I started it right after I launched Just a Mom. And it's a great organization. And if anyone is interested in it, it's not just local, it's nationwide. And even if you knew someone that had, going through treatment cancer in Arizona, you can even submit it for them, and then they send it out to the local partners, and then the local partners contact them to do the cleaning, and they do all the verification to make sure that they're a cancer treatment patient. But it's near and dear to my heart. I love giving back to the community, and it's really important for us. It's important for our cleaning pros to know that obviously we pay cleaning pros to do that. That's donated by the company, but that they know that we care and they get to go in, and although sometimes heartbreaking, that they really get to make a huge impact on someone who's going through such an incredibly challenging time in their life. And that is really, really impactful for our cleaning pros. We also do one other thing that you may not know about is we do our, every year we do sponsor a child. It's our 16th time doing it. and it's with the Methodist Home for Children in Raleigh. And I contacted them right when I started Dust and Mop and said, hey, we really want to give back, and we have these amazing customers. And it came from my own personal need. Like, I didn't want to walk into, not that there's anything wrong with, but I didn't want to walk into Walmart and grab a name off of a tree and not really know where it went. And so for me, I was like, I really want to know that it's going to a local child, but I don't necessarily have the time. I had a 2-year-old at the time. I had just started my business. I don't have the time to go shop. So I thought, well, why don't we do this program where we get a list of the kids, we get a list of all the things that they want, and we can say to our customers, look, you can pick a child and you can do the shopping, or you can just donate the money and we'll shop for you. And so that's what we do with our Sponsor the Child program every year, which we've kicked off already this year. And we usually sponsor somewhere between like 30, and when I say we, I really mean our customers, 30 to 40 children a year that are at the Methodist home. So it's really fulfilling for us, and my staff loves doing it because they get to shop for the kids. We used to have to physically go shop before we were on Amazon, but now we do a lot of the shopping online, but they still love it. And they get all of the gifts together and they put them in bags and they get them all laid out in the lobby and they take pictures of it, and they just love seeing that. So it's another thing that we do every year that's really near and dear to my heart.
I feel like this conversation has really given me almost a glimpse through the window, the behind the scenes of a house cleaning service, because I only just see a very small piece of that every month when our cleaner comes into our home and really makes an impact on our lives. But now I'm seeing how you, as the business owner, are making a positive impact on their lives. So it's going full circle. Now I have the full story, and it's just really, it's all coming together, and it's quite beautiful. So thank you for sharing that. I would say the biggest takeaways I got from our conversation today were around employee recognition, transparent communication, and really instilling a sense of purpose in your people, so they feel like they're not just making a difference for their customers, but they're also impacting their local community too. So I feel like you bring all of those pieces so nicely together, and thank you for sharing that with us today.
Well, thank you, Rebecca. I really appreciate it. And thank you for the opportunity to come on here and talk about Dust and Mop and our employees, and I really appreciate the time.
This podcast is designed to help busy business leaders create an inspired and engaged workforce. I am building a community of like-minded leaders and experts who all share the same passion, taking care of people at work. Whether you are a small business owner or work in a large corporation, you belong in this community. If you enjoyed this podcast and would like to hear more, please subscribe wherever you like to listen to podcasts. If you know someone who I should interview or should be part of this community, please connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram. Life is too short. Let's take care of each other at work so that together we can make this world a better place.